What's up, everybody? It's the Benchwarmers, and we're here for episode 7 of our Power Rankings NFL 2021 series. And we have at the number 26 spot, before I mention that, please like and subscribe, and that would mean so much for us. But with the number 26 spot, we have the Denver Broncos.
Last year, they had a mediocre 5-11 season. They were kind of in the bottom half of the league for both offense and defense, but they weren't too terrible in either of those categories. They managed to just escape the bottom 10 in both, I believe. Many expected Drew Lock to maybe not have a breakout season, but at least improve a bit. And that he definitely did not. He missed 3 games, he still led the league in interceptions with 15. Definitely not super impressive. But there were a few bright spots for this team, at least. Garrett Bowles, shockingly, was amazing. He ended up being second team All Pro. And then they had Justin Simmons and Bradley Chubb putting in solid performances as always and making the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. However, because they did bad, they had some good picks in the NFL draft, and I really like their NFL draft. I'll talk about 3 players that they drafted here, but I think overall the draft was quite solid and had some names who you might not be familiar with at the bottom, but are actually really solid. But at the 9th pick, they had Patrick Zertan, the best cornerback prospect in the class. Obviously, he was the second cornerback taken, but he has been performing extremely well in training camp, and he probably will project to be the better cornerback, in my opinion, of the two, him and JC Horn, in the league. And I think that was a really good pickup and just add to the amazing defense that the Broncos already have. At 35, they took Jovante Williams from UNC. He had over 1,100 yards rushing and 1,500 yards in scrimmage. So I think that was overall a really good system that he was in. I think him and Michael Carter both drafted running backs into the league. And I think that both of them will do well. And I think Jovante Williams will fill the void that Philip Lindsay left. And I think that their running back situation was very underwhelming this past season. Hopefully, having a player like Jovante Williams, who is a bruiser and has a lot of versatility, can definitely add to the Broncos' offensive versatility as a whole. And finally, the last player I want to talk about is Quinn Miners, who they took at 98. He's just a big, strong center, and that just can't hurt when you're in the NFL full of big, strong people and you need someone to protect your quarterback.
Now to move on to their offseason, to summarize it, they re-signed several key players, but they did not fix their quarterback situation entirely. So starting off with trades, they traded for Teddy Bridgewater, and they only gave a 6th-round pick, and this is from the Panthers. I think this is an absolute steal. Teddy Bridgewater is still a decent quarterback. I would rank him around 17th to 20th in terms of the total league's quarterbacks. So he's an average quarterback, and he'll get you a couple wins, but he's not exceptional and is by no means an all-pro talent. In terms of the people they lost, they cut cornerback AJ Boye due to some financial reasons. They cut D lineman Jarrell Casey. They also cut Philip Lindsay. Now for some offseason signings, they signed cornerback Kyle Fuller. They also signed cornerback Ronald Darby. They re-signed defensive lineman Shelby Harris. They re-signed their all-pro safety Justin Simmons, and they re-signed cornerback Kareem Jackson. So I think they re-signed many key players, and it was a pretty good offseason for the Broncos. And now we'll move on to our conclusions.
Yeah, I think I actually had the Broncos the highest out of everyone. Even though we have them 26 by consensus, I had the Broncos at 24, actually. That's because I really think that their defense is solid enough to carry them to a respectable 5 or 6 win season. On offense, it's not necessarily terrible. I think it's going to be better than last year. Like Teddy Bridgewater isn't exactly going to carry this team or anything, but he just defines like the average transition quarterback who can get you a few wins. They improved on the offensive line, and they also got Jovante Williams, who will help them out with the running game. And Courtland Sutton's going to be returning after a full season injury from last year. So I think they're actually not going to be the worst team in this division. We'll get into who I think that will be in a future episode. But yeah, I think the Broncos will be solid.
Yeah, I had them at this spot at 26, and I think that that's sort of where they belong. I think Teddy Bridgewater is fine, but Teddy Bridgewater needs like a good system around him. And I don't think he has that, even with a really dominant offense like he had at Carolina. He wasn't able to produce. So I don't think that will happen here in Denver, especially considering the situation Drew Lock had, especially with all the promise he had in that first few games before his terrible second season. And I think something similar will happen to them this year. I think they definitely have some good defensive pieces, but NFL is not a defensive-driven league. It's an offense-driven league. And I think we've seen that time and time again, especially in clutch situations. Great offense beats great defense, even if the defense sometimes is absolutely insane. And I think even like Von Miller might be returning, but you don't know how that'll be. I think that they're a good defensive team. Their offense is bad, and because of that, they will lose some close games.
I agree with both of you. I had the Broncos in more or less the same spot, but one interesting take that I'd like to add is that they got blown out in a few games, and by blown out, I mean 40-15 type games. But they also had several close games like the Jaguars. 6 out of their 11 losses this season were within 1 score. So I think with more consistency and a little bit of luck, they'll do better. But I still think that they're a bottom 10 team due to the quarterback situation, their O-line, and several other concerns. And like Aki said, without a good quarterback and without a good offense, your team will not be good, even if your defense is really good. But that wraps it up for this power ranking video. If you liked it, then like. If you didn't like it, then let us know why in the comments below. We're currently on the road to 100 subscribers, so we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. This is the Benchwarmers signing off. See ya.